Hello everyone, and what a good morning to you. And if you are the one who celebrates Easter, then enjoy your Easter. But today we still have another racing deal to do here in Germany, actually. We're here in the Eiffel Mountains in the Nürburgring to continue round 10 of the Formula Hololive International season for 24-25. It's the Nürburgring Super Prix coming right up for you. So with that out of the way, before we actually want to progress with a few things here, we forgot to talk about changes in the track map. So we're gonna need to take some time here to process the changes in the track map international. So might need to give us some time to talk about it. But anyways, it's a track here in Nürburgring. Of course, it's known for its endurance races, basically legendary Nordschleife, and has hosted a few Formula 1 races over its history. Of course, when we also want to talk about this track, it's also the home race of a certain... Give me a second. Oh yeah, so anyways, we now have the actual track map ready. So this is Cecilia, Immergreen, and Ludwig Boschwald's home race. Both drivers are from either Germany or Immerheim, so this will count towards them as their home race. Looking at target lap time, we're looking at a 141.395, track like 5.14 kilometers on this GP version of the legendary Nürburgring racetrack. 15 corners, including that tricky chicane 13-14, and then we got the hairpin and all that stuff. We're looking at 49 laps of racing here in the Nürburgring, so have a bit of a doozy when it comes to lap times and all that. So let's take a look into the championship order. Of course, this is unchanged since this one is after round 9. It has already changed multiple times here. We will finally update the driver standings after we have finished this race. But right now, Joshua Zurit has now been listed as 465 points behind Ryan Kagawa, now at 1,902. And Javier Lisby now sits at 1,802, which would mean that we need to see Azuret win the remaining two races on the bounce here in Europe if you want to have a great shot at the title. Also, another driver set to race in the Nürburgring is Leah Kai. We need to adjust that because we now get to see the true personality of who she is. She's actually a lady, so she's Leah Kai. Enzo Ferrari racing here in the Nürburgring. He will be replaced by Kamil Riba next round. Ludwig Boschwald, the driver, racing at home. Hazi Yazid, Monozetaro, Aziz Moazif, Hanari Miyuki, Takeda Adachi, Dan Evans, and Angela Sims rounding up the field. But not before we need to mention about the elephant in the room, Eden Burdson and Gray Prower, who will be racing their final races while their representing V2 remain active in Hololive. We're talking about Nanashi Mume and Gao Gura respectively. Mume is set to graduate in 8 days time, and 10 and then 2 days later it will be Gao, or 3 days later it will be Gao Gura's turn. So yeah, with that out of the way, we are just going to officially we're actually going to officially move into qualifying. So my name is Mama Shadar Reza in the commentary booth, and alongside me is, of course, someone that is a bit of a mainstay in VTRP competitions, but now has been finding himself a home in aero competitions. Representing Mori Calliope in the number 4 car is Joshua Zurit. So Josh, good evening.
Afternoon, actually, and hello and welcome along to Nürburgring.
So we got the first few cars out on the track here. Leah Kai on that car number 85 for Hakos Bales. Now, I'll tell you this right now, Josh. If you know anything about numbers, well, in the VTRP, you are very much used to the fact that Mori Calliope have been using numbers such as 51. But she now, but remember, she runs number 4 in aero competitions. And speaking of which, I am going to be sending to you, actually, of the aero VTRP.
It's 38 in VTRP.
Yeah. Okay. Oh yeah.
One is Bay.
which is an interesting double check here, as we're just checking in a few drivers who are coming out of their pit boxes to start their laps. Yazid, of course, in that Sherry Novella car. Great power, of course. Let's talk about one of the other elephants in the room. Yeah, the Gargura machine. I believe she runs number 54 in VTRP competitions.
That would be 41.
41. Right. But anyways, Great Power has a lot of big things to do here. Of course, he needs to win this race. One last hurrah for the departing Gargura. Oh, by the way, if you haven't heard the news, Gargura has released her final project, and that is her music video with Casey Edwards as the composer.
Yes, that very delight Casey Edwards.
So anyways, Josh, I believe you're familiar with the Nürburgring, so can you take us to a lap here in the Nürburgring as Great Power finishes his lap?
I'm gonna leave that up to you. You're the expert here.
Alright, so anyways, you come into the final corner here. Try to get the late apex here for you to make a good run off on the main straight in the GP track, and coming into the S into turn 1. Right hand and into the curve, that's where you need to brake here. And doing pretty decently to get out of there, coming into the Mercedes arena in turn 2, taking it simple and tidy into the in second gear, turns 2, turns 3, and then downshift into first gear, because this is a very slow complex, and that decent exit off of turn 4 for a slight burst into turn 5. Okay, hang it down in fourth gear. And then downshift it to second gear, another slow corner here. There you follow and downshift to second for turn in. And then a blast into turn 7. Use the left hand side as a reference point for your braking. Oh, a bit of a kicking there on that number 99 machine, as Power now comes into the Michael Schumacher S, named in honor of the legendary German Formula 1 driver, 7 world titles. And then into turn 10. Downshift into third gear, BSB corner, and then you also want to try to carry a lot of speed possible, but you have to lift off because it's a pretty slow corner, all things considered, even though speed and speed. And then into this section here, turn 12, Advent, and then mark out your braking points around the 100-meter board into turns 13 and 14. Oh, kicking the car through into the chicane as we're checking into the final corner into turn 15. And that should be a lap here in the Nürburgring, as a few laps have already been set. Gazebo 147.52, 752.
Oh, for our Egyptian Shiori Novella rep.
Well, she is the archivist, of course, but looking into the rest of the field, Leah Kai only setting a 141.5. Power only setting at 141.3. Enzo Ferrari is the one who gets very close though, 140.9. And speak of the devil, so we still have around 8 cars who have yet to set their laps. So let's scroll through who will be continuing on. Miyuki with a 141.982. Ethan Brooksson, another driver of Focus, will only make do with 142.089. Dan Evans, who is currently experiencing a second half surge, is now in third. Takeda Adachi joining in 7th. Angela Sims third. Yeah.
The scene is developing nicely over here.
Leokai trying to improve her time. She's now up into 5th. Mono Zetaro with a surprising run. He is in 2nd now on the Eurochrome number 92. Guess that maid outfit has absolutely spurred him along with confidence.
Boschwald.
And that's a decent lap though from the hometown hero. All right. So with the first few, for the first laps being said, do you think that there will be improvements in the lap?
A little.
Just a bit. As in, you know how the track ramps up and all that stuff. So who do you think is in a serious position to gain even more time?
Any in the top 3, I'll say.
Vettel
and Ferrari.
So
and Azuri slightly third.
yeah, I do notice though he is improving though, just bit by bit, only six hundredths of a second actually, behind Hazuki Yazid and Mono Z. And right now,
Auto starts this time. That
mhm,
will be the main question hanging over his head.
yeah, especially given that we still have a 0.9 lap race currently in looming on our clouds here. And looking into the rest of the field, I'm amazed though by the sheer amount of, how do we say this, parity between the top five. Angela Sims only 2/10 of a second behind Monazeta Rose's currently provisional pole position time. But right now, I am currently eyeing something special from Power and Bertelsen, because I really do want to see them find serious amounts of improvements on their laps. Bertelsen as well as Power, as Boschwald now improves, he now goes up into 9th.
Hang on. We both have graduating people in this split.
Yeah, both.
Other one.
Yeah, we'll talk about Kizuhara Leo later, as she has already finished her race in Sepang, her final Hololive GT3 race. And of course, there will be plans for Kizuhara Leo to have a part 2 of her special send-off, as she will be racing in the Holotype series, not just in Split B, where she will usually race, but she will also be racing in Split A. So as a guest driver, she won't be credited for points in that race, but there are plans for. Yes, Josh.
Yeah, and steal points.
Yeah, steal. No, well, steal points, true.
Anyway.
And so looking into, actually, I just want to point out a few things. So Yazid is struggling to overtake Monozetaro, and I just wanted to point out how the track looked like in the track.
Monozetaro in front of him.
Yeah.
It is a pink car. Not sure if it's Azura's.
Yeah, looking into the pink car, yeah, just wanted to go show you a bit of an onboard.
Yep, number 4. That is Azurid.
So anyways, Hazuki Yazid is still stuck behind Dan Evans, so he's not going to be finding any more time. Well, not that he's going to find it anyway, because he's already coming into the pits. But Ludwig Boschwald continues to improve on his home soil. He gets to learn very quickly here on this Nurburgring track. But anyways, we got both Bertelsen and Prower still making their laps. Bertelsen has yet to make a pit stop, so you may not find any improvements other than him getting more lap time, getting more laps. But for Great Prower, I'm gonna be interested to see how Prower deals with this next lap.
The final bend to start his flying lap.
And looking into his run into the main straight, it is pretty decent though. Coming into the braking here, into the S, into turn 1. And you can see here Great Prower just continuing along as usual. Doing pretty decently in turn 2, turn 3, and exiting the Mercedes arena. And this is where we can assess his early pace. And right now he's only 1/100th of a second, and if he keeps up at this pace, he will start 4th. As the timer finally runs down to 0, it's going to be a case on whether he can sustain it for this next 2 sectors.
Hairpin now. Dealing it very smoothly.
Yeah, especially coming into the mic. Yeah, into the Michael Schumacher S flat out there, no problem. And it's gonna be a 105.214 on that second sector, already losing half a second. And right now, this would mean that Prower will stay in 9th place as it stands, unless he finds time in the final sector, which I don't think is going to be possible. Ooh.
Rounding the chicane.
And he hasn't been that tidy though in that chicane and into the final corner. It's gonna be doubtful to see what it's gonna be interesting to see how he goes from here, and he does improve finding time in the final sector, bumps Leah Kai and Ludwig Boschwald for 7th place. A decent place to start, but there's always improvement as Takeda Adachi 4th. And Ethan
One car remaining.
And that's Ethan Burleson coming into the pits, so that will mean qualifying session over. Mono Zetaro is your pole sitter for the Nürburgring Super Prix. Hazik Yazi will start alongside him in second. And just wanted to ask to you, Josh Chrono, what have been your thoughts after this qualifying session, and what are your hopes for the race?
My hope for the race, of course, would be a Death Clock 1-2.
Ooh, a Death Clock 1-2. Well,
death in front.
Anyways, always backing yourself. But anywho, as far as the remaining drivers are concerned, but before I share my thoughts, I would like to share with you the starting lineup here for the Nürburgring Super Prix, with Mono Zetaro starting on pole position in car number 92 for Oral Crony, with Hazik Yazi starting alongside him for Shiori Novella. Josh Azure starts third for Mori Calliope, with Takeda Adachi giving a surprise run into fourth for Ninomai Ananis. And then we have Enzo Ferrari racing in his final race before he gets rested for one race for Kaminari Reba in fifth for Rara Patera, Angela Sims for Anya Melfissa. Dan Evans 7 for Ireneo 15 with great power. Starting 8th for Gao Gura in what will be his final race with Gao Gura as an active member. Leah Kai starts 9th for Hakos Bales with 10th place Cecilia Immergreen for Ludwig, Cecilia Immergreen is Ludwig Boschwald starting in 10th. Ethan Burleson starts 11th when his final race with Nana Shimomi as an active member. Hanari Miyuki 12th for Kobo Kanaeru with Aziz Wazif. 13th, the defending champion. He won't be defending the title no more from this position, for Ayunda Risu. So one more intermission before we officially get this race kicked off and underway, as we're going to see if we can have the best available camera, and we should have one though. So anyways, we got a few cameras on. We hope to see some clean racing. There were some messy moments in the chicane. Let's hope that we see less of that, as we now get to see 13 cars lined up on the grid for the start of the Nürburgring Super Prix. It is Mono Zetaro on pole position with Hazik Yazid in second, Ray Prower in 8th, Ethan Bertelsen in 11th in their final races with their Oshizeta active VTubers. The race is go at the Nürburgring.
The Nürburgring.
And just wanted to change the cameras here. And as Hazik Yazid having a great run though down the inside into turn 1. Oh, some drivers about to go 2 wide there, or rather 4 wide, and that's Angela Sins being spun. Fortunately, she's able to recover herself. And never mind, she has damage. So Angela Sins becomes our first casualty in this Nürburgring Super Prix. Retires very early there as Louis Boschwald tried to challenge Dan Evans. Meanwhile, we got Mono Zetaro still hanging on in the lead. Hazik Yazik second, Azura third, Adachi for Ferrari fifth, Prower sixth after having a great start, Evans seventh, and Boschwald running inside the top 8, Kai ninth, and Miyuki inside the top 10.
Not much racers in this race, ain't it?
Well, it's not much, but if that means everyone gets an equal chance to race, then I say we'll take it. But anyways, Angela Sims continues to be parked at the outside of turn 1. Really can't do much anything else about it. But anyways, top 4 are only separated by 2 seconds. Ferrari having a pretty big gap though against the rest of the field here. Actually, I forgot to set the lap time. We are going to be racing with 15 kilometers less. 15 kilometers less than usual. So again, slight apologies here, but we're going to have to proceed with the race as usual. So I am going to notify... Yeah, I know. Race shortened by 3 laps. So at least it's not that much compared to other moments where I miscalculated the time taken. But anyways, let's continue on with the race as usual. We will have to continue on with the 46 lap race. So, Buenos Aires still in the lead. As you guys see, still chasing. Also, let's talk about two of these drivers here, because two of these drivers here have actually won a Hall type race last March, and they're right now currently trying their best to carry on their momentous form. Kazi Yazid, of course, being one of them. He won the Split A race, and he is now running in second. However, Leah Kai won the Split B race, but is running in ninth.
Still trundling along.
And right now we are seeing some potential racing action here, as we see Enzio Ferrari now catching up to Takeda Adachi, who have now lost pace against the top three. Meanwhile, Great Power though is on the hunt though to go down the inside against Enzio Ferrari. Ooh, but
what do we got?
And Enzio Ferrari manages to defend for now.
This is one to watch.
Of course, as we're now shifting our cameras here for Great Power will eventually make a move down the inside or the outside, but he has to.
Right.
And
not yet, but still close.
Meanwhile, Ludwig Boschwald though.
Boschwald's splitting it up the inside of Dan Evans.
And he's doing a very good job though to maintain his position in that number 34 Cecilia Immergreen ride, as he still peels in side by side with Evans as he now tries to make the home crowd cheer. And speaking of which, Kaya Miyuki, a slight contact between the two. For how Miyuki did not send her into the wall, send Leah Kai into the wall, I have no clue. But it's now between which Evans have defended Boschwald, and he stays in 8th place. Boschwald.
Put back by Evans over there in his Irony EU15 car.
And conveniently numbered as number 15 in aero competitions, mind you. And speaking of which,
numbers, I think you got your VTRP numbers from the overall tab and not the dedicated FH tab.
Yeah. Thanks for reminding me. I will adjust the numberings in due course. And speaking of which, that's Leah Kai out. That's Leah Kai out of the track and out of the race.
What happened there?
So we are just gonna go for a very, very quick replay session, and if you want to know what happened here, this is what happened. So we got Leah Kai in the one of the corners here, and coming into turn 7, the hairpin. Here is what happened. Look at Hanari Miyuki. She has been hounding on Leah Kai for quite some time now. Here's your answer. Oh, that's a concertina.
Close, and she just lost it going into that corner.
Not just that, actually. If you actually rewind, you notice here Hanari Miyuki was actually I think it's Leah Kai though. I think it's Hanari Miyuki brake checking Ethan Brodelson. And that, I believe, is the reason why Miyuki shoved up forwards and hit Leah Kai.
Yeah, one little push is all it took.
And that push is the one that cost Leah Kai. That was the one that cost Leah Kai the race. But still, we have 11 cars remaining for Ethan Brodelson. At this point, a top 5 will suffice. But for Great Power, he is gonna go for maximum destruction. That is his motto. And he is your monster truck loving, storm chasing, Mets loving, Gagura loving VTuber of sorts, and also Dale Earnhardt. Let's not forget about that, as one of them have now set the fastest lap of the race so far. And right now, as we are now on lap 4, we are overdue for a lap time, or rather a race field monitor, and we are now checking on the strategies here. Leah Kai was supposed to pit early anyways, so her race would have been down in the dust and in the gutters. But right now, we still have 11 cars, and all of them will be pitting no earlier than lap 21. Great Power, of course, being one of the drivers who will be going for an undercut strategy. But we will have to see how it goes from here, as we get to see lots of close racing action here in the Nürburgring, as we now can see Great Power trying to peel down the inside of Enzio Ferrari.
Land versus Sea Predator, and the Sea takes this one.
Almost, as he stays around the outside, and he does make the pass Great Power inside the top 5. He is absolutely eyeing that maximum destruction for the Champa one last time, at least for Galgura to see.
There's a train over here.
There's a train over there, and this will absolutely be in Great Power's advantage here, as he's absolutely gunning forward for this win here in the Nürburgring. Of course, he has to beat also the gap between Yazid and Azuri, as well as Yazid and Zetaro themselves.
0.5, 0.6 behind fellow myth driver Takeda Adachi.
Yeah, Adachi meanwhile just staying where he is right now. Adachi meanwhile is also eyeing his eyes on him. Speaking of which, actually, Koyurika Mendes being the only driver in Split B means that there are 3 Hololive drivers currently racing in Split A. And guess who runs in 3rd, 4th, and 5th?
It's funny that the only remaining myths after this race would be 2 dark-oriented members and 1 light-oriented member.
Yeah, especially given the circumstances that we have been seeing, it's gonna be a pretty quiet council after Danashimume's departure. They lit up the shot to Enzio Ferrari.
What happened there?
Another incident.
Enzio.
Yeah, that's another incident here to look into, as we're about to take a look into what happened to Enzio. So if you want to know what happened, so here, he just lost the brakes and makes contact with Hanori Miyuki and Ethan Burleson for good measure. So let's check the thing again. So here is what happened with, oh yeah, he has his brakes failed. His brakes failed.
Yep, overcooked pasta.
Overcooked pasta, and it gets collided by the 2 drivers for good measure, and that's damage to the right rear suspension. His race has been run. That leaves us with only 10 drivers. That means Ethan Burleson is 9th by default.
What more quieter farewell race?
A quieter farewell race. I mean, she's just vibing and chilling as it stands. But Prower is gonna go out with a bang here. He really hopes that at least that his fellow Hololive Myth teammates will give him the amount of teamwork and cooperation in this racing battle. He probably would assume that he wants to have both of them to race Great Power hard, but also clean for both Adachi and Azuri, because remember, Great Power is leaving nothing behind in this race, as he is essentially liberated of some sorts, and now he has a really decent run. He has a decent look in to Adachi, but he's just too far back, so he's just gonna stay in 5th.
Battle of the High Seas is imminent right here.
Yeah, as Adachi and Power part of Umisi at one point in their history. Of course, we have lost, are going to be set to lose 3 of 5 Umisi members after Gagura's graduation, so...
Yeah, that's quite a bad fact to brought up since Umisi has also closed.
Oh, and there's someone going off though. That is actually Hazik Yazid, and he's going to block the field, and that's going to allow Joshua Zuri to get up to 3rd. Adachi and Prower are going to be joining in on the fight as well. I think it's a similar case to what happened to Enzo Ferrari, happened to Hazik Yazid, and now there will be 2 drivers who will be clearing Hazik Yazid, and they will now each earn 1 position.
That is not one for the archive.
Yeah, something to forget, but of course this is Yuri we're talking about, so she has to keep this thing in her tabs. But hey, this means Azuri 2nd, Adachi 3rd, Prower 4th. But not before. Look at Haziyazi though, trying to think of a move down the inside against Prower, but has to think better off.
Time to ink the seas, I guess?
Yes, the high tides are absolutely showing in that Gagura number 99 as speaking of which, Zetaro having a very, very comfortable lead. Of course, looking at Zetaro right now. Oh, and that's a Ludwig Boschwald! Ludwig Boschwald has overcooked it in the final chicane, not the home race that he has been looking for.
Ay, Dios mío.
Yeah, speaking
That
of which,
we're already in a 13
yeah,
with 7 laps.
yeah, 7 laps of
Bruh.
racing. Yeah, I hear you, I hear you. But speaking of which, we still have much of the race to go, so it's now a case of a race of attrition of sorts in this Nürburgring race as Ethan Burleson now goes side by side with Aziz Muazif. Well, we got the defending champion who is now just going to be called a reigning champion because he won't be defending the title any further as Ethan Burleson now goes up into 8th place. At least he's giving us a great showing here in Nanashi Mume's final race here in Aero competitions as an active Hololive member, and this is something the humans will want to see.
Has there been any news?
Oh, Dan Evans!
Oh no! In the gravel!
Yeah, in the sand pit here, in the sandbox there, Dan Evans, if you want to know why. So this is why. He tried to tag Ray Pryor on the outside and essentially beat himself into the gravel. Let's check into the onboards once again to see how it happens on his end.
That, I think, is a bit of karma in play there.
Yeah, trying to go for a move that isn't supposed to work there. That's front wing damage, and then he just parked it in the gravel trap. So that is his race over. But this also means Ethan Burleson is now up into 7th. All right, meanwhile, I am going to set the points here for the 4 drivers who have already retired. Chrono, what have your thoughts been in this race so far?
Well, how do I say this? It's been very eventful for how short it is as of now.
Yeah, only in 7 laps we get to see 5 retirements. Now we only have 8 cars left in the field. Not very much ideal, but you at least need 2 cars to race, to have a race here, and that's what we're seeing here. And speaking of which, Azuri is actually slowly catching up to Mono Zetaro. If you saw the lap times from Zetaro and Azuri, I think you can see why.
6.4, 6.3. It is indeed falling. Bit by bit. It's like I'm getting my death clock after all.
Yeah, you're getting your death clock, but however, we are going to be taking a look into the race fuel monitor. Remember, FL means amount of laps maximum before you run out of fuel. So these are essentially your indicators. Looking at Azuri right now, he's going to go pretty long in this race. However, looking at Mono Zetaro, he is going to go short. So what are your thoughts? Speaking of which, Enzo Ferrari still running in 11th place as I am hearing that there are slight issues on Josh's end in the commentary booth. Just wanted to double check on a few things here.
Yeah. The screen for me is suddenly freezing up and you are being lost.
Oh yes, that's because of drop frames. Oh, that's Hanari Miyuki and Ethan Burleson out of the race.
Oh no!
Oh, that's both of them out of the race.
Not the way you wanna go.
Yeah, not how they want to go there, as we were going to check to see how it happened from these two. So it's all started with Ethan Burleson having a great run off of this corner here as he saw an opportunity possibly emerging. And as you can see here, did Ethan Burleson and Hanari Miyuki. Oh, and sending both of them into... Yeah. When they select maximum destruction, this is not what it meant. Ethan Burleson, here's another look here, sends both of them actually into off the track, and that's gonna be both of them out of the race. Oh yeesh.
And this is why you Fernando Alonso. Always leave the space.
And even, but it's easier said than done, all things considered, because remember that this is the NGK chicane, one of the tightest chicanes in this competition, and Yeah, so Miyuki and Bertelsen will have to pay for it. Dan Evans down in 9th, Bertelsen 8th, Miyuki 7th. Oof.
Our competitor list is not looking healthy right now.
Only 6 cars remaining, but if they can maintain some degree of separation, then we might see less incidents here. We're not probably going to be seeing a repeat of the Suzuka race where everyone essentially has to go home early because of everyone just capitulating in the races. And for now, everyone is just doing okay at the moment with 8 laps complete.
More recently, the Canadian Holo.
Yeah, the Canadian Holo Prix in FHWC.
Yeah.
Of course, you have to mention that. So anyways, we still have, we're gonna need to log in the point finishers here, as Ethan Bertelsen will finish his final race for Nanashimume while as an active VTuber in 8th place. Not the way he wanted to bow out, but at least he gets to score a great amount of points, all things considered, in his season. Meanwhile, looking into the lap times here, Azurid is absolutely catching up into Mono, who is currently up there, but now that we've mentioned it, Zetaro is actually answering that with the with identical lap times on his own.
As expected from the appointed of the Warden of Time.
Yeah, absolutely having time under control. So we are just going to double check on the points here. There are some what do we call it? Doppelgangers of sorts. Hang on a second. So we still have essentially a few cars remaining in this race. 5 cars still, or rather 6 cars still in. We still have Azurid, Yazid, Wazid, and then Adachi, of course. Yeah, Wazid, Adachi, Prower, and of course Mono Zetaro. Mono Zetaro, so the point situation is yet to be determined.
I think Muazif is the only ID remaining.
Yeah, the only ID car remaining. Angela Sims crashed on lap 1. Hanori Miyuki was involved in the incident with Ethan Bertelsen, and then Evans has spun out. So, yeah, Aziz Mwazid eventually Holo IDs his only hope.
And a very slim one, as he's currently the last runner.
Yeah, he's currently the last runner, but still 5 seconds back behind Hazik Yazid. Meanwhile, we still have Takeda Adachi on the charge against Joshua Azurid in the battle for 2nd place. Looking into Adachi, who is actually having a pretty decent look, and he is not going to make any moves.
Be too far for now.
And speaking
those gaps are slowly dropping.
Oh no, yeah, I forgot to mention to you one thing. The only drivers remaining who have already won a race in Formula Hololive International is actually Aziz Mwazif, who's running in 6th. So again, this is like all of the other races that we've seen so far. We're looking actually for first-time winner. And actually, we saw Joshua Zurid, I believe, going off track. I noticed.
Well off the camera.
Oh, and also Hazi Yazid. Hazi Yazid also went off the track. Mono Zetaro is actually the one who drove off the track.
Oh.
So
and that's why we're seeing a 2-second gap now.
And speaking of which, Aziz Mwazif though is going to challenge Hazi Yazid. Hazi Yazid is not going to have any pace any further. Aziz Mwazif is now back up into 5th place. Already 10 laps in, and we have already seen multiple cars out of the race already, including the hometown favorite Ludwig Boschwald down in 10th place after his crash at the NGK chicane.
So I was gonna ask earlier, is there any news yet about Bertelsen's future?
Bertelsen's future, we have already updated this in the ARO accounts here. After deliberation, he will be given the Kogane Nico number 29 in Formula Hololive Japan and Holotype Japan, so he will have a lease of life in the future. This is because Tawan Bumin has replaced the outgoing Thomas Ferreira in the number 25 for Biscard machines.
Yeah, that was quite a short stint from Ferreira.
Yeah, it was quite a short stint, but it was something to remember because remember when he joined the Aero competitions back in December, or rather it was that November, when he made his debut in Santol, he actually secured a top finish. I believe he's going inside the top 10 or top 5, but it was a race to remember, all things considered.
Yeah.
And speaking of which,
Still running behind Azurid.
is Adachi, yeah, currently running 5/10 behind Josh, who is looking for his first win in 2024-25. He has already won in 23-24, albeit in pretty controversial circumstances. If you want to know the story, he essentially sent everyone into a spin and essentially grabbed two 15-second penalties, but he was just so damn quick that he managed to grab a penalty and still win the Indonesia Grand Prix at Mandalika.
What the use of Alchon's powers there?
Yeah, using Eldritch powers to his advantage. Of course, he is essentially a Takodachi at heart, and he is absolutely at least having a pretty decent race so far. Even though Adachi himself hasn't had the best season, but if you remember what happened in Fuji, he did finish in 3rd, so that is essentially a light at the end of the tunnel for him. So, and now we get to see potentially great power absolutely getting closer, though. You saw the laps though. 142 for Adachi, 141 for Power. So there might be more battles afoot. We might see great power on the podium.
Intriguing.
That's to say the least, though, because right now we get to see Grave absolutely ascending the car. And remember, he is going to be committing to an undercut strategy, so he is pretty much light on fuel. And since there's very much not a lot of cars on the track now, this would mean one thing. There will be less issue with traffic. So if you want to go and do the undercut strategy, then you are going to be in a very straightforward position.
Remind us what's undercut and overcut again?
Okay, so remember, if you pit early, you are essentially undercutting the field, as you are essentially pitting from a decent position where you're stuck in traffic. You exit the pits in clear air, while your opponents are stuck in dirty air and lose a lot of time. You gain time on them by virtue of you having an uninterrupted lap. So it is expected that while you are sacrificing your tires in the late runs, in the longer runs, in later stages, you will at least gain positions in the mid stages. It's very important though in tracks like Nürburgring, where it's a pretty difficult track to overtake without crashing.
As evidenced by the diminishing list of competitors still alive.
Yeah, more than half the field here have actually retired from the race to contact and retirements. Adachi losing touch a bit to Azure. Zetaro have built a gap, but as you also have seen, the driver mistakes have also been pretty much apparent though. We've seen lots of drivers though actually cooking too much here and going too wide here coming into turn 5. And or just straight up losing the brakes. That's Mono Zetaro trying to stop the car. Joshua Zuri is going to come by. This is going to be interesting though.
Right, he is.
And you saw though Zetaro having a very poor exit off of turn 6 and into turn 7. He's not going to be under pressure from Josh Azuri. And we get to see Josh Azuri also piling on the pressure. Takeda Adachi, though, meanwhile, is going to be using this opportunity of Azuri to scuff run for him to make his own move. But is he close enough?
Azuri is having 2 fronts here.
Yeah, on both ends as well, trying to find a way past Monozetaro for the race lead, and also at the same time having to defend against Takeda Adachi. But look at great power.
Just there, in the depths, waiting for his chance to strike.
And right now we are going to be checking though. Monozetaro is currently prone to making mistakes. Oh, and that's great power kicking, hitting the sausage curve, and that's going to mean him losing time. But at least he didn't spin out of the race.
That's a relief for now. No, genuinely.
Yeah, it's a relief for now, as we thought we're going to be seeing yet another heartbreak. But at least if Power does end up retiring from this race, he will retire from 6th place, which is actually a decent position to be.
But again, there's that sting still, of course.
So right now we're just checking onto the top 3 here. 1.4 seconds between Adachi and Mono Zetaro, now expanding to 1.5. So we are just double check on that one. So yeah, so right now we are just checking into the situation here. Azurit's now lost a bit onto Mono Zetaro. Mono Zetaro is absolutely blindingly quick, but is not the most consistent driver out there. Azurit, meanwhile, maintains his consistency and is looking for his first win in aero competitions. We'll see how it goes from here, as also Takeda Adachi is going to be looking for his first win this season.
Refresh me, when did Azurit take over the Morica Life ride?
After Singapore. In Sentol, this is at the time when Jake Martinez was given the full-time seat in the Hyodoshi Ao number 5. 05 actually, and that is when Josh Azurit basically takes the seat from Sentol onwards. So basically, his
was the first race of the Azurit era.
Yeah, it was in Sentol. It was in Sentol.
Jay.
And speaking of which, great power though. Meanwhile, slowly creeping in onto Takeda Adachi's gap. But we'll see how it develops from here as, yeah.
Brower, modeling himself after the famous Miles Brower from the Sonic series.
That's one endo actually. But remember, he also has his life shaped after Dale Earnhardt, this super fan of Dale Earnhardt and also a dedicated Shumbud. And if you were there during Gargura's graduation announcement, if you actually saw him stream, and I did watch his stream, yes, Great Power is that shaken. He's that visibly shaken. You know, just like any other Shumbud, this graduation absolutely devastated Rave. But all he needs to do is to just move forward and progress with things going forward. And right now, all Rave needs to do is to keep digging against Adachi, Azurit, and Zetaro. And if both of them could have their runs as usual, and if both of them could, and if things go Rave's way, as Great Power is about to be the first driver to be called into the pits.
He's going for the first one to go to air. Then.
Yeah, as Mono Zetaro continues to set fastest lap at the fastest lap, a 1:40.6, I believe, for Mono Zetaro. He is absolutely blitzing it on the racetrack.
And that's a gauntlet for the other three, especially.
And yeah, especially
hammer time for them.
Yeah, it's hammer time, especially for Great Power, who is currently in the pit stop cycles here. We'll see if Zetaro makes yet another mistake, and whether or not other drivers are going to be punished for it. And right now, Mono Zetaro is okay, but he continues to overcook it. Oh, and that is what I mean by that. He has lost a decent amount of time. From 2.2 seconds, it's now down to 1.7. And now we have one question to talk about.
Sec lead. And it's now down to 1.6.
Yeah, 1.6 seconds. Yeah, he was at 2.2, but you saw Mono Zetaro's mistake yet again on turn 5, as he continues to have issues with braking, so it might not be a mistake after all. But yeah, we saw multiple drivers having braking issues though at turn 5, mostly because they underestimated the use of the brakes here. Now looking at Mono Zetaro, he has again built a gap. He has the fastest car out of anyone so far, but it's pretty much unstable. So this is one of the few things that we need to look into. As Mono Zetaro also now come into the pits. Great Power doesn't have time to respond though to Mono's pit stop maneuvers. but we'll have to see where Monozetaro is right now. He is currently barely into the pit lane right now.
Now the onus is on Azurid to not bottle his pit stop, especially his exit.
And that's a quick pit stop for Monozetaro as Great Power now exits the track here. Monozetaro should have at least a few seconds on Grave, but Grave should have the warmed up tires here. So I believe the gap is now only at around 3 seconds here between Zetaro and Prower. But right now it is a race pretty much on, and we'll see whether or not he gets to fix his setup woes and his braking issues, especially at turn 5.
Double A at front.
Okay, it's way better so far. He manages to keep it in the track at least. Prower right now is currently racing against Adachi and Azurid, who are currently in the race lead right now. Looking into Adachi and Azurid, they will be pitting at roughly the same time. Wazif will be pitting in the next 9 laps. Yazid, meanwhile, will be pitting in the next 8 laps. So right now we have the first window opened and closed.
Things calming down finally at lap 18.
Yeah, even though it does come at the expense of half the field, and right now we are checking into the rest of the field here. Adachi doing pretty decently against Azurid here, and looking into Monozataro's previous sectors here. In sector 2, he just sets a 34.1. Great Power has set a 33.9 on his previous second sector, so. And as Monozataro crosses the line, he sets a 36. Both of them are now matching. Look at how close. Yeah, and you can see here how much the gaps have closed.
I'll be back. I'll just do a few things.
All right. So that will be Josh Azurid in the commentary booth, out for a while.
I'll be back.
Yeah, I know, out for a while, as I'll be taking over full commentary duties at this point. Monozataro now trying to find a way to make sure he doesn't lose a lot of time here, but he is doing pretty decently in the turns 5 and turn 6. Into turn 7, which still doesn't really have a name. Yazido, meanwhile, absolutely charging forward against Aziz Mozart, the last of the ID class cars in the field at the moment. Getting close to 2. Fortunately, there's still no contact. 402.4, Adachi 42.2. Yazid still trying to find a way past Muazif though, especially in the Mercedes curves. Prower 42.06. With a lap of 41.6, so he has now gained 0.4 of a second against the Great Prower. Monozataro having a very quick car, but when will it go away for him once again? Oh, and that is a decent run at the chicane, or rather in the S's. Interesting as Great Power actually managed to catch back up a bit. Here's as it's his worn out tires here. They are expected to make at least a few laps here. And this is the comparison here, fresh tires from Power and Zetaro, and Zetaro has managed to gain a lot of time in the second and final sectors. As he now go downhill into the advent curves. 142.2 for Azurit, 141.8 for Adachi. This means one thing, the Great Power has a serious chance to finish second. And Great Power absolutely on the hunt though, keeps himself honest to Mono. .141.559, absolutely hitting it with that fastest lap run. And Great Power absolutely needing a miracle here to find a way past Mono, because he is the net leader. 6 cars remaining in this race, mind you. Miyuki out of the race, Bertelsen out, Evans out alongside Angela Sims, who will be classified as 13th. Evans out. Boschwald out of the race as well. Enzio Ferrari and Leah Kai out in the running. And speaking of which, it's hammer time for Great Power, as what Josh Zurich would say. And Adachi continues his climb into Joshua Zurich's gap. Gap's now at 1.5 seconds. Great Power and Monosataro now trading blows and blows and blows, as both of them set identical lap times of sorts. But not before Zataro finds even more time. 141.62. Looks like Power has made a slight mistake somewhere. 142.8, 142.1 from the Gaogura driver. So the situation between Adachi and Azurit, looks to me that Joshua Azurit actually made a mistake somewhere, and now that I think it, Adachi is now in the lead of the race. It was Azurit in the lead, remind you, and it looked to me that he made a mistake earlier this lap. A quick replay to check on what happened to Azurit here, and if you want to know the answer, well, it is pretty another one case of him going off the track here, just trying to serve the car in, and at least he gets himself back, and now it's going to be Takeda Adachi in the race lead. Great Power is still keeping Monozetaro honest though, matching his lap times where he needs to. Again, he just has that better cornering speed. He just has more thrust on the car in the corners. As Wasiv now comes into the pits. Tataro being chased by Power. Looks to me that we have a realistic chance that Power will exit the race in second place, his best ever result, which will be something to remember, to be remembered by. Monazetaro grab gap on Great Power, now only at 3.7 seconds. Alright, so we're just gonna check if there's anything else to report. Well, we really can't tell from here. Yeah. So Power now in fourth, Zetaro third, Azurid in second, Adachi in the race lead after taking it away from Josh Azurid, who have is now clawing back his lap time against Adachi. Coming to the halfway stage after shortening the race by 3 laps. 141.7 or at 41.2 from Power, 141.9 from Grey Power. Zetaro absolutely building a gap against Grave. After exiting out of pits, he now stays in 5th. That just shows you the potential strength of the overcut strategy. Look at Josh Azurid. After that mistake, he is essentially going to claw his gap back into Azurid. Azurid closing Azurid, essentially getting his gap back against Adachi. Great Power now 5 seconds behind Monazetaro. Monazetaro in a literally dangerous position to win his race for Oro Crony. And there's Takeda Adachi coming into the pits. And he thinks that now is the right time for him to serve his pit stop. Josh Azurid will be doing the same in due course. So will be Monazetaro getting second and Great Power taking third. 146.38 for the Oro Crony driver, 141.544 for the Gaogura driver. As Gaogura does manage to beat Takeda Adachi for 3rd place. And if Adachi was the one that leads, then this means Great Power also has a realistic chance that he will get 2nd place in. Uh, 22 laps to go, coming to the second half of the race. Even though it has become pretty quiet with only 6 cars remaining, we still have a race to finish. Six seconds now separate between Zetaro and Power, but at this point Zetaro has become an almost complete product here. No mistakes from his end. He has, I believe, fixed his setup woes. And he does have one hand on the trophy here at a win here in the Nürburgring. And as Azurid now comes into the pits, this will mean one thing here. It's now Morazadaro's chance to take this race lead away. And Azurid still inside his pit box, not making his move whatsoever. Rare Power 141.439, his personal best, still not able to beat Monozetaro's insane pace. And it's going to be Great Power now up into 2nd place. Oh, and for good measure, that's Takeda Adachi having to make way for Joshua Azurid, though. Joshua Azurid now gets up into 3rd place. all drivers are essentially completing their pit stops. With the exception of Gray Brower, who actually needs to make one more pit stop here. I do notice. Yeah. Looks like Gray Brower is going to go for this two-stop strategy, but will it work? I have no idea, but he will at least give us a show to remember. So we will need to overcome a pretty decent delta though, but with everyone else struggling on tire wear. And speaking of tire wear, we are just gonna check here. The ones who have the oldest tires, apart from Power, is Zetaro, who has 8 laps old tires. And if you look at the pace for those who were on worn tire, they were only at 142s for Azurid and Adachi. Oh, some big news in the thingy, but I'm not going to really talk about a lot. But anyways, we still have much of this race to go. Brower will have to make yet another pit stop in the Gakura number 99. Has to lose around 20 plus seconds to make his to give him more sense of fuel and a bit of another change of tires, mostly to give him attacking chance right at the end of the race. So we're just gonna let this race go on as usual, actually. As there might be some pauses in commentary, as again, I'm the only one at the moment here. Josh is out for his errand and stuff. But anyways, lap 28, Great Powers has got the Monozetaro have just opened to 6 seconds. And if you look at his pace against Joshua Zurid, it's not really promising at the moment. But at least he manages to find 5 seconds. Even though Gray will have to make yet another pit stop. Also, it's good for the rest of the race. Same goes for Hazik Yazid. And Morzataro also has to looking to pit as well here. So it's actually Azuris' race to lose. Crazy development here. So right now, it all comes down to the final sets of laps here. 18 laps to go here in the shortened Nürburgring Super Prix. speaking of the rest of the field here, with Zetaro and Prowers as imminent pit stops coming in, this will mean that Zetaro will be in the middle of the pack, as well as Great Prower. This will mean that we will be seeing some renewed racing action right at the end. Here's Haziq Yazid and Aziz Muazif, two Malaysian drivers racing here in Europe. At the moment alongside Hanari Miyuki actually, but he's already out of the race. Oh, and that's Ray Brower slightly overcooking it in the final chicane, but he should be okay. 141.4 for Mono. He has to make yet another pit stop. Ray Brower as well. He will also make a pit stop, but he has now set a 149.60, a personal best for him. And right now, if he does maintain this level of pace right at the end of his second stint, then who knows what he could do in his final stint. .9 seconds now. The gap closed momentarily, but now it got back up into 6.2 seconds between Zetaro and Prower. Still, no one's watching the goddamn stream. So we still have 16 laps to go, and I'm not sure if I can still scream my way out of this. Anyways, Great Prower. 6 laps of fuel to go in his tank. He will have at least 10 laps of his run that he can do. Meanwhile, Haziq Yazid, though, on his hunt against Aziz Muazif. So let's go on board. See if there's going to be any developments from him. 141.0 from Mono. 141.2 from Great Prower. Okay, a bit of a slidey moment there from Muazif. .141.9 for Yazid and 142.523 for Aziz Muazif. Oh yeah, I forgot to do this. Because this is Formula Hololive International and not Formula Hololive, not Hololive GT3, I forgot to essentially change the timing tower color to white. So, whoops. So there will be pending one more pit stop for the likes of Zetaro and Prower. So yeah, 7 cars out of race, 6 to go. Although there has been a procession up to this point. When will Zetaro get called into the pits? Right now we still are waiting for Great Prower's decision. 141.3 from Zetaro, and it's going to be a 141.2 for Great Prower. A small response, all things considered. And coming down at the exit of the final corner. Will Yazid make his run down the inside at turn 1? Not quite. Ooh, So here's Yazid trying to find an alternative line, but that's not going to work. Meanwhile, we're looking at Zetaro just continuing on as usual. Great Power not yet called into the pits. Adachi and Azure waiting in the wings to grab a massive haul of points.
Alright, I'm back. What's up?
So here's a bit of a development here to report. Actually, Great Power and Mono Zetaro are gonna make yet another pit stop in the race field monitor. Here you can see here, Power only has 4 laps of fuel to go. Mono Zetaro has 6 laps of fuel to go. And guess who is fuel until the end of the race? The remaining 4 drivers.
Ay, Dios mío.
Exactly, that is what Azur's been thinking in his car right now after hearing the news about Zetaro and Power's fuel tanks. And now he's gonna try to bring the deadbeat something to remember, as this ride has yet to win a single Formula Hololive race this season, either through Jake Martinez or Joshua Azure. This time, this is probably going to be different.
After all these bottled starts.
Well, now we get to see Azure now finally be in a position to realistically win a race. And right now, his race will continue to be run as it is 6.1 seconds, now 6.2 seconds, between Zetaro and Power. And right now, there's still lots to think about and lots to take a look into. As Great Power has a few corners to deal with, and yeah. So back into the race field monitor once again. He's not being called in the pit lane just yet. So Prowler might have just enough time to mount a comeback charge of sorts. And right now, if you look at the gaps between himself, and let's say Hazik Yazi, it's now opened up to 21 seconds, which is almost a pit stop delta of sorts. 141.5 for Great Power, Zetaro for 141.5. Great Power 141.9. 13 laps to go in this pretty much slow burning Nürburgring Super Prix. Seven seconds now separating Zetaro and Power. And at the very least, though, I'm not sure how I can shoehorn one of Gura's songs into what Great Power has been doing. But if you have any ideas, please let me know. But whatever the case is there, if you want to see potentially another battle to look into, Hazik Yazid and Aziz Moise may have got you covered.
Reflecting right now.
Yeah, I'll reflecting, but I'm mostly talking about the new song, but you get my idea.
What was it?
Ash again.
Back to Ash? Oh. As he comes back to Ash again.
Yeah, well, I mean, rising from the ashes, yeah, good, that's a decent idea, though.
It's more of Kiara's thing, though.
Yeah, that's mostly a Kiara thing, but it now also applies to Gura, as that is essentially one of Gura's final plans, and at least he manages to release it before her impending departure. Bertelsen in the pits, in the garage here, at least he has solace that he will finish it inside the top 10 for Nanashi Mume, but from the competition not being as much, well, never mind that. Well, it's still top 10, so yeah, that's a thing to remember, as Great Power continues to barrel through the main straight, no problem so far. Looking into its fuel load, it is becoming in very dangerously low now.
For everyone involved with these string of 3 graduations so far.
Yeah, Kizaru Leo at the very least having done what he needed to do in the Hololive GT3 race, the Zako Series race. His last race, incidentally, in his at home in Sepang, Kizaru Leo brought home 6 for the Shiokos. while Ethan Brosen has to exit this race with an 8th place with a DNF. Ray Prower is currently in the best position possible right now. He is currently in 2nd.
AoE'd along with Kai and Adachi and Zetaro over here.
Yeah.
Because all of course are connected to the departing people.
Yeah, of course, you had to mention that as well. Meeting them in the underworld of sorts. So, looking into Great Prower, he is now finally being called into the pits now. Monozetaro will be coming in the next 2 or 3 laps. So it will be interesting to see how it develops from here. Joshua Zurich now keeping his head down to the floor to basically spot for clues for him to win this race. As Great Prower will now come into the pit stop from Heifer to go do his 2nd and final pit stop.
Why is that work Doshi in what was that? Off with their heads?
Off with their heads.
Making the earth shake here in Nurburgring.
Yeah, and right now Prower will be losing a few positions though at the moment. Adachi will be taking over 4th, and here's Moazif though, barreling through the final corner, and if Prower can at least exit in 4th, it will be positive markings here. Here is Great Prower exiting the pit lane. He has exited the pit lane, and it looks to me that he will exit just ahead of Aziz Moazif. But Aziz Moazif has just beaten Great Prower. But remember this, Prower has the freshest tires out of anyone so far, and he's now given the license to keep on attacking. And if you look at Adachi's previous lap, he only, well, I can't really tell, but they're all setting 142s. And with those fresh tires, if Prower can set 141s and maybe 140s, then it's all gonna come down to whether or not he can at least finish 3rd.
Quite a tall ask, but nothing can stop this guy.
And also, Josh Azuri in a very realistic position to win this race. With fresh tires potentially coming in on the horizon, with him pitting the next 2 laps or so.
10 laps remaining already.
More like 11 laps to go, because we have only completed 35, not 36. We're on lap 36, but we only have 35 laps completed.
The in-game graphics is on.
Yeah, but okay, now we're on 10 laps to go here in the Nürburgring. And looking into the fuel loads from Monozetaro, he will be pitting in the next lap. Zurich 141.7, Adachi 141.9, doing a very good job there on their cars right now. Prower's chances of a podium are diminishing.
Right now.
Yeah, Prower's chances of a podium are diminishing at the moment. But right now, with Prower's tires completely worn up, we'll see what Prower can do to get himself into maybe 4th or 3rd. Ooh, slight lockup in the rear, but manages to keep on going.
Fine.
We'll see how much.
Moazif is also Malaysian, right?
Aziz Moazif is Malaysian. Same goes for Hazik Yazid and Hanari Miyuki.
Yeah. I did a bit of a oopsie right there, saying he's Egyptian. That's Ahmed El Ashur.
Ahmed El Ashur, yeah, true. But Ahmed El Ashur is also Malaysian as well. He just runs dual nationalities.
Okay, so speaking about nationalities, I just learned that your nationality on a racing event is decided by your racing license, not your birth certificate.
Yeah, your racing license, which explains why Daniel Barger is Polish, and also why Hoshino Rio says Japan. But you can see here, Great Prower is absolutely coming in very close against Aziz Moazif. He needs to make the move in the right place at the right time. And right now he is doing pretty decently. And he's not going to be under pressure though from Hazik Yazid. But he's just too far back.
Not Link.
Meanwhile, Josh Azure will be taking this race lead from here. Monozetaro currently stationary inside the car at the moment. And Monozetaro
that's Azure in the lead.
Yeah, Azure is now in the lead. Zetaro now in 3rd. Adachi 3rd. Adachi 2nd. Moazif 4th. Prower 5th. Yazid 6th. All of the entire field are now separated by Wait for it. 17 seconds.
Not bad.
All things considered, though, but while we are going to be paying attention to Monozetaros's climb up the field, he is outright the fastest driver currently in the field right now, and he at least wants to see if he can steal this win away. He does still have 9 laps to go to make this work.
And it's a Canadian-Korean clash between both of them.
Well, when it comes to Ina and Crony of sorts, but we're talking about a Japanese registered driver in Takeda Adachi, actually Russian, but it's actually Japanese, but races under a Japanese license, and Monozetaro, who is another Filipino racing in aero competitions. So that makes it a Filipino 1-3 as it stands.
Imagine there being... Was there ever a nationality 1, 2, 3 at any point in time?
In aero competitions, I believe it happened back in 2022 in Hololive GT3, but I will really need to check on my notes on this one, because if you're looking at a nationality 1, 2, 3, the best odds will be between Malaysians and Filipinos due to their high numbers. But for now, it's a slim chance, but the best chance you will find will be in between Malaysians. But for now, Aziz Muazif, despite having worn out tires, he's doing a very good job to hold off Great Power.
But how much longer those nuts can hold?
Exactly. Chipmunk's mouth can only go so much. I can only hold so many nuts. And looking at Monosetaro's gap to Adachi, the gap's dropped down slightly to 5.9 seconds momentarily, but now it's back up to 6 seconds. Oh, it's back to 5.9.
Both chums and Risoners watching closely in the garages.
Yeah, the Chumbuts absolutely watching in absolute curiosity and speaking of which, Prower still trying to find a way past. And speaking of which, the only gens currently in this race are Myth, Council / Hope, and ID1, and also Advent. All of Justice is gone. All of ID2 is gone. All of ID3 is gone. Well,
and all of Myth is still remaining.
Well, all of Myth still remaining. That's a pretty decent addition to all of this. And as you can see here,
VTRP selves, which is not doing too well until at least Barcelona Grand Prix.
Yeah, the Barcelona Grand Prix, where the Advent cars showcase some kind of redemption.
Who won there, by the way?
Yeah, I do notice that as well. As right now we get to see Great Power, though, trying to find a way past Aziz Muazif there. Muazif now looking for a miracle here, as Haziyazi now sets his personal best. Muazif has now picked up the pace, which leaves little room for Power to find anything, as Zetaro have now found half a second against Adachi.
In this situation, there's a certain line from a certain Sonic song that would very much fit the situation. It goes like this. Can't hold on much longer, but I won't never let go. I know it's the one-way track.
All right. That's good. That's interesting information there on the current situation here, as we still have a race to look into. Power now losing touch though to Aziz Muazif for some reason. And now he's back into the mix here. Zetaro now also losing touch slightly to Takeda Adachi. The gap's now opened up to 6.6 seconds.
Team G against G. And for the drivers, it's Sushi against Nasi Lemak.
Nasi Lemak, well, you can talk about Nasi Lemak all you want, but Great Power might take a move down the inside. This might be it. He has to be careful! Oh, and that's both drivers out!
No. Oh no!
And that is gonna be a race
disaster.
That's what we mentioned, though. Heartbreak for the Chumbutts. Aziz Moazed trying to make a move against
And the
Aziz
reason
Moazed,
two,
but
we're
that
at it.
essentially costed both of them the race. But at least Great Power will have the top 5.
Ooh.
Right.
Ellie's up front.
Yeah, it was, if you look into the replay here, if you look into what exactly happened, Great Power actually managed to stay ahead of Aziz Moazed by the time they both stopped on the track. But Aziz Moazed was ahead by turning, so this means, how do I put this? Great Power still will finish 5th ahead of Aziz Moazed. But that will be Great Power's run for Gargura, while with Gargura potentially still being able to see the ride. Well, that's his race over.
This time, it's all ENs remaining.
Yeah, as the last ID class car essentially crashes out, as we now have our first Hololive casualty. Shame that it has to come from Great Power. But we still have much of this race to go. Bonazetaro and Hazik Yazid not being able to catch Adachi of sorts, and Adachi himself most likely not going to be able to catch Joshua Zurich in what has been a highly attritional race. 141.8 for the Motor Calliope driver. Adachi, meanwhile, is slowly catching up by around two and a half tenths of a second. So there's still hope that we might see some lead battles.
Yeah.
So, Hazik Yazid only 141.8. So we will see how it goes from here with 5 laps to go here in the Nürburgring.
The reason Nurburgring is called the Green Hell.
Well, we're seeing exactly why here.
And this is, by the way, not yet that part.
Yeah. Anyways, well, the Green Hell is mostly the Nordschleife part, but the fact that the GP course has essentially replicated the same feat also really tells us that, well, there's
magnitudes.
So we still have Takeda Adachi trying to find a way past Joshua Zurich, who is running in the lead at the moment. But his gap is slowly diminishing. Will it be the basically the mental, basically death in training, or will it be the Eldritch Priestess?
As is little lore about that, as of New Underworld Order, she's now death herself.
Well, when it comes to well, it was death in training back when she started, but now looking at her developments, she's done a very good job. As Azure now manages to claw 2 tenths away from Adachi, with 4 laps to go.
Also noticeably, only Crony and Zetaro are the normal types here. The rest remaining are dark types.
Well, when you come think about it, yeah, Hazik Yazid having a dark colored base, Mori Calliope wearing black by default, same goes for Ina. So, nice interesting tidbit to look into. So, yeah. So anyways, with the race almost set to conclude, I will update the F-Holo points standings thingy, and I will share with you all the whole point standings as we go. Aziz Moazed will be credited with a 6th place Great Power in his final race with Gargura as an active VTuber. He will have how do we put this? 108 points as a result of him finishing 5th. And since the situation isn't going to change as much, we are just going to provisionally score the finishers, as Takeda Adachi will be finishing 2nd, his best in the season up to this point. Monozetaro will be set to finish 3rd, with Hazik Yazid finishing 4th. And as it stands right now, Josh Azurit will be 265 points behind Ryan Kagawa in the title fight.
By the way, another dark type.
Yup, exactly. But anyways,
Demon of Sound, remember?
yes, the Demon of Sound, exactly. Well, a light
And
type in Javier Luspi and Vesha Zeta, though. Although I would argue that that's also dark, but it's mostly light in my end.
I would say neutral, TBH, because Zeta is still human as the rest of Holoro is.
Yup, exactly. But anyways, we still have...
For Kayla, though.
So we still have half of 2.5 laps to go. Josh Azurit being overcooking it at the turn 5. That's not going to be a bit safe here. I mean, especially if he ends up going off the track. And if he does go off the track, that would be a massive upset.
You cannot be complacent at any point in a race, as his Oshi learned the hard way in the Canadian Hololive.
In VTRP competitions, that is, as looking into a bit of updates here, Takeda Adachi will jump into 17th in the overall standings for Nina Mayananis. And after third place here, Monozetaro will jump up to 12th as well, as we are now coming into the final 2 laps of this race. It has been a chaotic race of sorts. More than half of the field have already retired. Actually, more than 3/4 of the field have already retired. So that only leaves 4 cars remaining on the track. Joshua Zurit, Takeda Dachi, Mono Zetaro, and Hazik Yazid. Neither of these cars are able to catch back up onto each other. So it's almost essentially an issue of the race essentially done and dusted.
Good as done.
Well, almost as good as done. It ain't over until the fat lady sings, and it ain't over until the checker flag drops, so...
Fat lady, huh? That's what some haters of Mori are branding her, essentially.
Well, I hope they're coping in seeding, because right now we're going to be seeing potentially, I believe, if I can confirm myself, the first win. This will be the first win for the Mori Calliope machine since the Malaysia Grand Prix, when Jake Martinez piloted the car to a win at Sepang back in February last year. So it will be a win drought broken by 14 months, a year and 2 months of sorts, as Joshua Zurich will need to deal with 1 1/3 laps to go.
Bring down the AMG grandstands.
So, speaking of which, I just wanted to remind everyone of what else is going on. Kodonose Kanade birthday stream, birthday live concert coming up tonight.
And speaking of Canada, tomorrow is Monday.
Yeah, of course tomorrow is Monday, but if you saw what happened in Sepang, Seirin didn't have the best of races. Being the one DNFer meant that she finishes dead last. Presumably karma for on Canada's end for trying to basically rub into other people's faces about Monday. But anyways, let's not drag ourselves too much about Canada. Let's talk about the final lap here and how Joshua Zurit has essentially aced the strategy call to only go for 1 pit stop, because right now he's able to maintain his pace and be in control of the Nürburgring Super Prix.
Can he avoid the same fate that befell Shazrin Redza?
Well, that's mostly an issue of pit stops. That's mostly an issue of basically gambling on fuel loads. But this time, Azurit has it calm and collected. He has been looking for this opportunity since he debuted in ARO competitions in the Sentol Grand Prix, where essentially the first of 2 races for the ID class drivers. But with Joshua Azurit having a few corners to go in this race, man, this is gonna be something to remember. Remember what I said about Azurit's title aspirations?
Not much, other than it being a distant aspiration.
But it will not be distant if Azurit wins this race and Mugello. This would put Azurit in a seriously competitive position for him to fight for the title alongside Kagawa and Lusby. It's not over yet for the driver representing Death Incarnate, And right now, off the final corner, Joshua Zurich with a masterful drive, with a grip on the trophy. Joshua Zurich wins the Nürburgring Super Prix.
He has slammed Ricky down for Moriko Laipi.
And Haziazi will cross the line in fourth. That will be the end. That will be the end of the race here. So apologies for the intro jump scare here, but we are now going to immediately get into this finishing lineup here. Joshua Zurich takes the win here in the Nürburgring. Takeda Adachi second, Mono Zetaro third, Hazik Yazid fourth, the only finishers in the field. Aziz Muazif fifth, Great Power sixth. In his final race for Gura, while Gura remains as an active member. Hanori Miyuki 7th, Ethan Burleson 8th, Dan Evans 9th, Ludwig Boschwald 10th, Enzio Ferrari 11th, Leah Kai 12th, and Angela Sims 13th. So, Josh, as I'm about to save the replay and get into the championship standings here, do you have any thoughts that you want to share?
Zurich's just very happy to get what victory he can. Though, of course, he would prefer it if it's in a more legit circumstances.
Yeah, I know. This is what happens when you race in a high attrition race. But anyways, let's take a look into the championship standings here, as we will now finally confirm to you all about the championship situation with about 2 rounds to go. We still have one more split round with Mugello and the Red Bull Ring welcoming these drivers. We still have Ryan Kagawa leading Javier Lusby by 100 points. He's not been enjoying this final 4 races of the season. This third phase of the season, not enjoying it the slightest. Javier Lusby, meanwhile, is chasing alongside Joshua Zurich. Mama Reza still has a mathematical chance to fight for the title. Same goes for Yuri Rafael de Oliveira, Leah Kai, Enzio Ferrari, Hyuta Asano. Actually, until Enzio Ferrari, they have still a mathematical chance to remain in title contention. But I would like to remind you that anyone from Hyuta Asano onwards are now fully out of title contention, as they are basically too far behind to essentially mount a title charge. So we still have 7 title contenders left.
Three still involved.
Yeah, and we still have 3 in realistic contention. That's Ryan Kagawa, Javier Lusby, and Joshua Azuri. So with that out of the way, before we end the stream, I would like to hear your predictions, as we probably want to hear about what will be happening in the final 2 rounds of the season, with 3 races, 1 in Mugello, 1 in the Red Bull Ring, and the other at Mandalika.
So that's where our finale is being held.
Well, that is a very interesting coincidence. But anyways, what are your thoughts coming into the final 2 rounds of the season?
Azurid needs to keep up his consistency if he were to be a serious threat to the title.
And obviously,
as of now, Kagawa. What I said for Azurid is applying to both Kagawa and Lusby.
Yeah, true. Because right now, we are looking at Ryan Kagawa not being in form in his bid for the title for Nerissa Ravencroft. However, at the very least, with this win, Josh Azuri can at least bring home a win for Hall of Myth, even though it comes at the expense of Great Power. But at the very least, I would say that with Ryan Kagawa slightly falling off in form, coming into the final races of the season, it's now a wide open chance for Lusby and Azuri to essentially take this opportunity to steal back some points and get closer to the title. When that out of the way, that we really don't have much left, so we are going to thank everyone for tuning into the stream. We are going to give you 3 things to do in the coming days. One, watch Kanade's birthday stream tonight. The other is listen to Ash Again by Gura, and also watch Takanashi Kiara's birthday stream coming up later this month. So
yes, the Easter Project stream, which by the way, Amelia's coming.
Yeah, Amelia's coming.
That's
True,
right.
true. that's a massively something to look forward to. And speaking of which, I would like to thank everyone for tuning into the stream. And with that being said, we'll see you next week for Holotime, where we will see a certain witch finally graduating from hall life, but not before Chris Leo has anything to say about it. But we'll see you next week for the
And
holotype race in Autopolis. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you next time. Take care, everyone.
see ya.